In the heart of Lagos, where the air buzzed with ambition and desperation in equal measure, a small church stood at the corner of Arolo Street, a place that smelled of incense, diesel, and belief. Its name was the House of Divine Revelation Ministries, but everyone in the city simply called it Mama See It All's church. And at the center of it all stood prophetess Patricia, a woman draped in flowing white lace, always seen with a gold shawl that shimmered under the stage lights. Her voice was thunderous, her eyes sharp like lightning, and her smile, sweet yet haunting. They called her Mama See It All because of her gift, the power to see through people's lives, their past, their future, and their hidden sins. Some swore she healed the sick. Others claimed she raised the dead. But no one ever truly knew where her power came from. At first, Patricia was a simple woman. Once a struggling hairdresser, living in a one-room apartment with her teenage son, David. Life was hard, so hard that many nights, she prayed herself to sleep, asking God for a sign. Then one night, she claimed she received it. In her words, an angel appeared by my bedside, surrounded by fire, and said, "Patricia, I will open your eyes to see the unseen. Use this gift to bring people closer to God." From that night, she said, her eyes could no longer sleep. She could see visions, dreams, and destinies. At first, people laughed. Until one day, a woman from her street brought her a picture of her missing husband. Patricia prayed, rolled her eyes, and declared, "Your husband is in a boardroom with another woman. Her name is Sod. He drives a white Toyota." 2 weeks later, the woman found him exactly as she said. And that was how it all began. The whispers turned to stories. The stories turned to crowds. Within months, her small salon became a prayer center, and before the year ended, she had a church that could hold 500 people. Every Sunday, the crowd overflowed. People came from Abuja, Port Harcourt, even from Ghana. Her name spread like wildfire across social media. Journalists called her the Golden Prophetess. She moved like a queen, guarded by ushers and men in black suits. When she stepped on stage, music filled the air, drums thundered, and the people shouted, "Mama See It All. Speak to us." And she would raise her hands dramatically and say, "The Spirit of the Lord is here. Somebody shout hallelujah." Her words carried power, real or imagined. She prophesied promotions, marriages, and miracles. And almost every time, something seemed to happen afterwards. But what no one saw was the woman behind the curtain. Late at night, when the crowd had gone home and the lights went out, Patricia would sit before her mirror, her gold shawl folded neatly beside a candle, and stare at herself for long moments. Her reflection stared back, tired, empty, haunted. There was something dark in her eyes. Something that didn't look like faith. Sometimes she whispered to the mirror, "I gave them hope, didn't I? That's all that matters." But the mirror never answered. It all started to shift the day Tomowa entered her church. Tomowa was a journalist, brilliant, skeptical, and bold. He had been investigating the sudden rise of miracle prophets in Nigeria. To him, Patricia was just another fraud feeding on people's desperation. He attended her service disguised as a businessman. From the moment he saw her, he could sense something magnetic about her presence. She wasn't just performing, she believed her own illusion. That day, she looked straight into the crowd, paused, and said, "There's a man here wearing a blue shirt. You are planning to travel abroad, but there's a woman standing in your way, she's not human. She's from your mother's side. Step forward." Tomowa froze. He was wearing blue. Everyone turned to look. He stepped forward cautiously. Patricia touched his head and whispered something too low for the microphones to catch. He felt a chill run down his spine. For a moment, he forgot why he came. Later that night, Tomowa couldn't sleep. He replayed her words in his mind. How did she know? Who told her about his plan to relocate? He decided to dig deeper. Within weeks, he discovered something strange. Patricia's so-called visions seemed to line up with private information her staff could easily access, forms filled by visitors, conversations overheard in queues, even hacked messages. But there was more. One of her assistants, a young woman named Blessing, secretly reached out to him. She said she had seen things that could destroy Patricia's empire. Blessing told him about the hidden room behind the altar, where Patricia kept a chest of strange objects, old pictures, hair strands, and little bottles with names written on them. She said that sometimes Patricia would go in alone, light a candle, and chant in a language no one understood. Tomowa didn't believe in superstition, but something about the way Blessing trembled made him uneasy. The next Sunday, he returned to the church, this time, with a hidden camera. The crowd roared. The choir sang. And Patricia, draped in shimmering gold, climbed the altar, her voice echoing through the speakers. The Spirit is moving tonight. There's a journalist in our midst, sent by the enemy to test me. The crowd gasped. Tomowa's heart stopped. How did she know? She turned her gaze directly at him. But the Spirit of God will expose him tonight. All eyes turned to Tomowa. Ushers began to move towards him. He stood frozen, clutching his phone in his pocket. But before they could reach him, the lights flickered and went out. Darkness. Screams. Chaos. And then a loud crash from behind the altar. When the lights came back on, Patricia was on the floor, gasping for breath, clutching her chest. Her golden shawl had fallen off, and her eyes rolled back as she whispered something unintelligible. Tomowa ran forward instinctively. But as he helped her up, he saw something that made his blood run cold. On the floor behind the altar, where she had fallen, the chest Blessing mentioned had burst open. Photographs. Bottles. Locks of hair. Small papers with names written in red ink. The crowd gasped. Ushers rushed to hide it, but it was too late. Someone shouted, "What is this, Mama?" Another screamed, "Blood of Jesus." Patricia's voice cracked. "It's for protection. It's prayer materials." But fear had already taken over. The people she once controlled began to back away slowly, their faces filled with shock and betrayal. Tomowa recorded everything. And that night, he uploaded the video online. By morning, it had gone viral. The city woke up to headlines. Popular prophetess exposed. Dark secrets found behind church altar. Social media went wild. Some said it was a setup. Others said it was karma. But no one could deny what they saw. Still, Patricia refused to give up. She released a video crying on live stream, saying, "They are trying to destroy the work of God." Those things were planted. Some believed her. Many didn't. Her church attendance dropped. Donations vanished. And her once loyal assistants began to disappear one by one. Yet behind the scenes, something deeper stirred, a mystery that no one, not even Tomowa, could have expected. Because Patricia's story wasn't over. It was only beginning. Long before the gold shawl and the roaring crowds, before Lagos learned her name, Patricia had lived a different life, a small, quiet one that smelled of talcum powder, hair relaxer, and the tears of women telling their stories under the hum of a ceiling fan. Back then she was simply Patricia Okizi, the woman with the gifted hands at Divine Touch Beauty Salon in Suralere. People came to her not only for braids but for advice, for the way she listened. She always had a verse ready, always said, "Don't worry, God will handle it." Yet Patricia's own life was falling apart. Her husband, Chike, had left her for another woman. The rent was overdue. David, her teenage son, had started missing school. At night she would sit by the window, watching the lights of the city blink like careless stars, whispering to herself, "Maybe God has forgotten me." One humid evening, when the air smelled of dust and diesel, an old woman entered her salon just as she was about to close. The woman's eyes were white with cataract, her voice cracked like dry wood. "Daughter," she said, "you are troubled. You seek help, but not all help comes from heaven." Patricia tried to smile politely, but the woman reached out and grabbed her wrist. Her grip was ice cold. "If you want the world to bow to you," she whispered, "you must open the eye that sleeps inside you." Then she pressed a small brown bottle into Patricia's hand, a strange perfume that smelled of herbs and ashes. "Anoint yourself tonight," the woman said. before the moon disappears. When Patricia looked up again, the old woman was gone. That night, curiosity and desperation overpowered fear. She poured the perfume into her palm and rubbed it on her eyelids, murmuring, "Father, if this is from you, show me a sign." The world around her tilted. The walls seemed to breathe. She fell to the floor, trembling, as images flashed before her eyes, faces she knew, places she had never been, voices calling her name. When she woke up hours later, dawn had broken, and her eyes felt heavy, burning. But something had changed. That morning, as her neighbor's daughter passed by, Patricia blurted out, "Don't go to that market today, there will be an accident." 2 hours later, word came that a bus had crashed near that market. From that moment, Patricia believed she had been chosen. She began to pray more, fast more, speak with confidence she never had. People called her the woman who sees things before they happen. But she didn't notice that the nights grew longer, the shadows thicker. The voice she once thought was divine began to whisper louder, urging her, tempting her, promising her glory if she would only listen more closely. Years later, when Tomowa's video destroyed her public image, Patricia sat alone in the same one-room apartment she had once escaped. The curtains were drawn. Her phone vibrated non-stop, messages, insults, threats. David, now a grown man, paced restlessly. "Mama, we can fight this. Hire a lawyer. Tell them it's fake." Patricia shook her head. Her eyes looked empty. "The world believes what it wants to believe, my son. Once they smell blood, they never forget the scent." She turned to the mirror. The same mirror that once reflected her glory now reflected a stranger, makeup smeared, shawl forgotten, eyes haunted. That night she dreamed again of the old woman, the one with the white eyes. "Daughter," the voice said, "you have misused the gift. You traded power for fame. Now the eye that sees will turn upon itself." Patricia woke up screaming. David rushed in, found her drenched in sweat, muttering prayers that made no sense. For the next few days, she refused to step outside. Reporters camped at her gate. Neighbors whispered. Children mocked, calling her mama fake it all. But Tomowa couldn't rest either. The more he tried to move on, the heavier his heart grew. He replayed the footage, over and over, and noticed something he hadn't before, a shadow, almost human-shaped, behind Patricia as the chest fell open. It moved independently of her. He froze the frame. Zoomed in. It wasn't a reflection. It was something else. The journalist in him said coincidence. But the man inside him whispered, what if it's real? He decided to visit her again, secretly, at night. When he arrived, the street was silent. Patricia's compound looked deserted, except for a dim light seeping through her window. He knocked gently. No response. Then, from inside, a low voice, "Come in, Tomowa." He froze. He hadn't said his name. He pushed the door open slowly. Patricia sat on the floor, surrounded by candles, her gold shawl laid before her like an offering. Her eyes glistened, half mad, half sad. "I knew you would come," she said softly. "You think you destroyed me. But the truth is bigger than your video." "What truth?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "I was never the only one. There are many like me in this city, men and women who saw the same light, heard the same voice. You think I tricked them, but sometimes I wonder if something else has been tricking me." Tomowa's phone started recording automatically, he hadn't even touched it. She continued, her tone breaking, "I wanted to help people. But power is a sweet poison. Once you taste it, you stop knowing where God ends and you begin." She reached for one of the bottles beside her, small, sealed, with red liquid inside. "This is the last one," she whispered. "If I destroy it, maybe the voice will stop." Before Tomowa could move, she smashed it against the floor. The candles flickered violently. The air turned cold. A shadow rippled across the room like smoke caught in wind. Patricia screamed. The lights went out. When they came back on, she was lying still, eyes wide open, murmuring, "I can't see. I can't see anymore." Tomowa stepped back, terrified. Outside, the muezzin's call to prayer echoed through the dawn. He ran. By morning, news spread again, prophetess Patricia has gone blind. Some called it divine punishment. Others said it was stress or hysteria. Tomowa published nothing about that night. He couldn't explain what he had seen. But something inside him had changed. For the first time, he prayed, not out of ritual, but out of fear. Meanwhile, Patricia lived quietly, unseen. The crowds were gone. The fame evaporated. Only David remained, caring for her, leading her gently to the small bench outside their house every evening. She no longer wore white lace. Only plain cotton. She said she liked the feel of the sun on her face. Neighbors sometimes whispered that they heard her talking to herself, asking forgiveness from those she had deceived. Yet the story was far from over, because Patricia's downfall had awakened something bigger, an underground network of prophets who feared exposure. And some of them were willing to do anything to silence the man who had started it all. And so, the hunter became the hunted. One night, as Tomowa walked home through Ojulegba, a black SUV slowed beside him. The window rolled down. A voice called his name. Then, darkness again. Like, comment, share and subscribe for more of the story.